All right. Welcome back once again, everybody, to Inside the Matrix. We're so happy that you're able to join us either when we first release this or later on, whenever you get a chance to watch it. My guest today is somebody very special, someone who has a lot of wisdom. She's an expert astrologer. She's also an alchemy teacher and mentor. She helps people with finding their life purpose, and helps people with relationships, and we know those can be tricky. But anyway, she's very talented, very gifted, and her name is Olna. I knew I was going to botch her name. Ola Wolny. So let's bring her in right now. Ola, welcome to the show. I'm sorry I botched your intro.
Thank you so much. No, not a problem, not at all. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I don't think I can top that introduction so much. I'm really excited to be here. I don't really consider myself a top astrologer. I would never dare. But I definitely have a look into that. I think this is something that probably we all should do, because what I have established, which I'm hoping to be able to speak about a little bit, is that this happens to be the key to the matrix. So here I am doing a little bit of digging into these kind of topics, while my background, to disappointment, of my family, is totally different. And I kind of ventured out into something that's probably not so popular.
Well, we appreciate what you do, and I heard you on a couple other shows before, and I was very impressed with your knowledge, and I know you're a very humbled person, but I always like to ask our guests when they first come on the show, if you would please share with us a bit of your background, where you came from, maybe what your family life was like, and kind of what led you to what you do today. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, that would be great.
Sure. Right. So my background. Originally, I'm from Poland. I was raised in Poland. I started my studies in Poland, but life took me to England, to the UK, and finally to Norway. So here I am in the Arctic Circle. The last 10 years. The last 10 years in Norway, up here for 5. And my background is actually oil and gas. So very much a corporation matrix type of background, where I've been working I was working, I'm not doing that anymore. I was working for 15 years in oil and gas, in the UK, in Norway, doing the very much of the engineering. So this is my background. I'm an engineer, so this is probably where my slightly different approach to astrology comes from, because for me, things need to be kind of a bit black and white. I need to have the answers, and there's no place for nonsense. I come from Poland, come from a family where I would say that they were more into science. So my interest in the astrology, in the occult, has always been there. And by the occult, obviously, we're talking the hidden knowledge, the knowledge hidden from the wider population. Nothing dark. And that's never been really supported in my family. So I'm a bit of a black sheep. I'm a bit of an outcast, and I've always been. I'm quite proud of it. And so here I am. I'm quite happy that my family doesn't really speak good English, because probably wouldn't be really impressed right now. But here I am, stepping out totally from the matrix system, that kind of lifestyle, that kind of life, and pursuing my passion, which is pretty much discovering where the hell did we find ourselves, and what is it that is controlling us?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm right there with you. My family thinks I'm pretty much out of my mind, but and I think really a lot of our listeners are going to have that same experience, and we just have a natural curiosity. I think I know I did, and I know you do too. You want to know what's really behind everything, because it's so easy to see that the information presented to us in the mainstream is just not true at all. Anything from history to politics to science, I mean, you name it, religion, the whole thing, it's all a programmed reality that we know better.
Absolutely.
We know better than, and we don't accept it. And so that leads us on a path of discovery and trying to understand how things come together. And of course, none of us have all the answers. And I get a kick out of some of our listeners when they get really offended by what somebody says because it doesn't agree with their belief system. But I ask people out there, look, have an open mind. Just listen. You don't have to agree with everything we have to say or what anybody has to say. But hopefully you'll find it interesting. Anyway, let's go down the road of astrology. And I know that you've studied Vedic astrology as well as traditional astrology, right? And what's your feeling on those two? And which one is one more relevant than another, or they both have their functions?
So I think we have sort of a few things going on here, because with astrology, what the general population knows about astrology, or knows to astrology to be, is so-called tropical astrology, the Western astrology. And so that is the astrology which would tell you that right now, here we are, 6th of January, we are in the Capricorn season. This is the Western traditional astrology. And probably this is everyone's way into astrology. This is how we start. This is where we go into it. Why is it important? Well, it is important because when you actually go a little bit deeper, you find out a different type of astrology, which is called sidereal. Sidereal is the astrology based on constellations, on the real positions of the stars and planets. And surprisingly, tropical is not. And this is what people don't know. So we're dealing with two different zodiacs. One which is showing us the real true positions of the planets and the stars in the sky, and the other one which is showing something else. And the explanation to the tropical is that this is to do with the vernal equinox being fixed at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first day of spring, start of the Aries season. But the problem is that, you see, astrology has always been the science of the sky and the stars. So back in the day, 7,000 years ago, when the ancients were doing astrology, they were looking into the sky. That's how they were doing the observations, how they were casting horoscopes, how they were making predictions, and not obviously into looking at the computers. So the real astrology is dealing with the real positions of what's going on in the sky. And I just call it the scam of tropical astrology. I'm sorry, but tropical astrology has basically frozen the zodiac 2,000 years ago, at the time of Ptolemy specifically. This is one of the matrix tricks designed to take us down the path when things are no longer making sense with astrology. The predictions are off. And of course, there is this whole explanation to why tropical, it's to do with seasons. But as a matter of fact, it doesn't make sense. I'm an engineer, mathematics needs to make sense and physics needs to make sense. And this is specifically to do with a process called precession of equinoxes, which is to do with, well, the official version is talking about the tilt of the Earth. So with time, we have basically different constellations in the background. Not going to go into that technical details, whether that's the right explanation or not. However, the result is such that the constellations are, I would say, the background is moving.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. And so don't be afraid to go there if you want to, because our listeners have heard it all. So And I'm right there with you. I don't think we're flying through space at a zillion miles an hour. I, I think we're very much stationary where we are, and the sky, I call it the sky clock. A lot of people call it the sky clock, is moving above us as far as I'm concerned. So, go, please continue.
I actually, probably what I'm gonna do is later, what we're gonna do is we're gonna include a picture that I have prepared to sort of try to explain how I see where we have found ourselves.
Great.
But why am I starting from this angle? Because it is basically resulting in us having two different types of astrology. One, in my eyes, being wrong, and one being the correct one. And Vedic astrology, Babylonian astrology, Tibetan astrology, they all follow the sidereal zodiac, which is to do with the real position of the planets in the sky. But there is this Western astrology, so-called Western, which is based on the tropical zodiac, the one from 2000 years ago. And that is the one that everyone follows and everyone knows, the one that's off. So you see, when I look into so we kind of have few different issues going on here. One being literally the technicality of it, the tropical being off, and the sidereal being the one based on the real positions. And then we can go into the different types of astrology, such as the Vedic, Babylonian, etc., etc. And what I have found out there is that throughout millennia, information has been fragmented, has been scattered, and probably by purpose, tucked away in different geographies. Mm-hmm. So if you study just one school of astrology, such as Vedic, or just Babylonian, or just Chinese, or just Mayan, you are going to sort of narrow the pool of information, and you're going to ultimately do yourself a disservice, because you are only getting certain pool of information, certain pool of evidence of what is it that you're actually looking at. So what I did, with my background being someone who questions everything, I looked into everything. Quite frankly, it's really not that difficult once you're in it to sort of maneuver your ways between the Vedic, the Babylonian. I'm not just talking about the technicalities of the astrology. I'm also talking about the scriptures, because if you do astrology and you do not read the mythology, you do not read the ancient texts, then you may forget it. Why? Because the level of misinterpretation, and in my eyes, it's obviously on purpose, misinformation is so high that we are just repeating some nonsense that has been once introduced into astrology and into every single discipline.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We've been so misled in so many different ways, and like you said, it is on purpose, because the ones who control this matrix that we're in, they don't want the people waking up. They don't want people understanding their own power, their own abilities. They want us all to be just good little slaves that'll just go to work and do our thing and give our money to them as much as possible. And it's pretty much an insane system. But they've mastered the ability to program people. And so if people are not aware of that programming that they're being subjected to, then they just get programmed. It's as simple as that.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and that's the situation that we find ourselves in. And the interesting part right now to me is that there is a great awakening taking place. So I see that there are two major roads we could be going down right now. One is towards our liberation and the freedom and all the things that we all as human beings want in our lives. And then the other one is total slavery, transhumanism, joining the hive mind Borg, all of that kind of stuff. And so it's really up to us as human beings, as the human family on this entire matrix world, to become conscious and understand the situation that we're in. Because once we do that, then the so-called controllers of this place are powerless to manipulate us. And that's the point that we need to get to, hopefully. So as you look at the astrology, and where do you see that we're at right now? What's your estimation of where we are and what's happening? What do you see happening this year? You have any thoughts on that?
I think that if we could maybe take a little step back
Okay.
to get a sort of wider context, because probably, a lot of people would be thinking, Agenda 2030, I'm probably gonna get to another strike here. The agenda advancing, but the question is, why now? Why Agenda 2030 and not Agenda 2050? Why are they doing it now? What is so specific? Because I think that, while we had a lot of craziness happening over decades, it is now that they are rolling out the real big guns, if you like.
And quickly too, right?
And quickly.
Yeah. Okay,
Why?
yeah, let's talk about that. Go ahead.
So of course, you will get a lot of people thinking that it's about money. But, mind you, they already have all the money in the world. They don't need the money. They already own the money.
They make the money.
They make the money. They already have all the money in the world. It's not about money. So next level up, it's about power and it's about control. Well, they already control the game. They already have the power. So what is it that is making them up the game? Again, what is it that's happening? Oh, they're psychopaths. Well, always been. Nothing new here. So again, and when you ask those questions a few times, we get to a point when, and this is where it's going to get a little bit esoteric. The difference right now from any time in the past is that we right now, literally these years, and of course, this is not a question of 1 year or 2 years. We are kind of in a period which has already started. We are in a time where 3 major cosmic cycles align. What we're talking about is the end of Kali Yuga, which probably the end of Kali Yuga was really what the Mayans were talking about with 2012. This is the end of the world by the Mayans. It's end of Kali Yuga. So end of one major cycle. Together with that, so we are already sort of stepping into the new age here. On top of that, we are standing at the gateway, at the gates of the Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, right? We are, if you want to be absolutely technical about it, we are still at the end of age of Pisces. It's precession of equinoxes, so we're kind of going backwards into Aquarius. We are still at the end of Pisces, but we are pretty much standing at the gate of Aquarius. And you can feel that, you can see that, because the elites, they would not be trying to roll out the transhumanism agenda if it wasn't in Aquarius, because Aquarius, on that kind of, let's say, darker side, on the lower side, is about transhumanism. It can go that way. So obviously what it means is that those kind of actions are supported energetically. And the third one, and that's the biggie, that's the big one, we are at the winter solstice so we have 2 big ones already aligned, plus the third one at winter solstice. For a period of several years, our sun happens to find itself perfectly aligned with the center of the Milky Way galaxy, with the center of the galaxy. And what is at the center of this galaxy? It's a black hole. And in any esoteric scriptures and traditions, the black holes, and even NASA will tell you that, right? Sometimes they have to smuggle a bit of truth. The black holes is where the creation comes from. It is where the matter, the pramata, the code of creation, this is where they originate. So that's where life gets sort of spit out from, right? So right now, we are literally receiving these original codes of creation onto this planet through the sun, which is nothing else than a portal. We are bringing in, or the universe is helping here. It's bringing in the original energy, creative energy onto this planet, which gives us an absolutely amazing opportunity to literally take down this construct. Because we have not had this kind of influx of energy for thousands and thousands of years with everything being aligned like that. We're talking hundreds, thousands of years. So those three together is what makes them very uncomfortable, because they know that if we wake up and understand what kind of energy, I'm talking energy activating our DNA. This is not some kind of new age nonsense. We're talking real stuff that is being hidden from us. Astrologically, we can see that. Astronomically, we can see that, because the right astrology is a sign with astronomy. So this is happening right now. It's been happening for a few years already, and it is going to happen for the next few years. But it's a window of opportunity. This is ultimately why they are getting so uncomfortable. On top of that, we have a few of the prophecies, the native, the indigenous people with their prophecies, the Hopi, the Incas, the Cathars, the Bogomils. All those prophecies are kind of in alignment, suggesting also the same message, that right now, specifically now, is the time for humanity to take a certain path, the path of liberation. So we are absolutely cosmically supported on this. The only problem is, who knows, right? Who knows about it? Well, it's coming. Like I say, the Great Awakening. So people are kind of starting to feel it. There is a major role for women to play specifically in this time. This is my second love, that I work with alchemy. So the alchemy that we're talking about is the feminine alchemy here, because the age of Aquarius is actually it's a woman. So again, we're dealing with patriarchy, twisting the archetypes, twisting the information, and the picture of Aquarius, if you might have seen, is a man sort of holding a chalice or a jar and pouring water. It's actually a woman pouring water of life, and water of life being part of the original cause of creation.
That's absolutely fascinating, and brings to mind also that we're in a period of time of the great revealing, because everything is coming out. I mean, those of us who have studied this stuff, I've been, studying this stuff not all my life, but most of my life. And many of us knew that this crazy stuff was going on, but it was always hidden. It was always occulted and in the background. And for the most part, most people had no clue whatsoever. And I really used to think to myself, humanity has no chance, because there's too many sleeping people. But now everything is coming out if you're paying attention. Now, if you're glued to, the mainstream news every night and believing that they are actually authentic, true, and telling you what you need to know, then that's a problem. But if you're paying attention at all, if you're on some of these other great internet sites, social media sites as well as scientific sites, that you can find a lot of this stuff out, you can see that everything is being revealed right now. And it's creeping more and more into even social media, where a lot of the so-called, normies, please don't take offense by that, people. It's just a way of describing someone who has not woken up yet, and hopefully they'll become very much enlightened. That's what we all hope for, right?
Absolutely. And if I may just kind of put it in the context again of astrology, again, here we have another evidence that those energies of Aquarius are already upon us, because you see, the age of Pisces is the age of faith, is the age of religion, is the age of don't question, just believe and accept. That era is fading away. The Aquarius is the one that wants to understand. It's a very spiritual energy, but it's not an energy that you can sell a lie to. It's an energy that wants to understand the depth, wants to see the evidence, but it's a very spiritual energy as well. So obviously this is where spirituality meets science, but in a good way, not in a bad way. And of course, we're talking the real science, not the science that we've been presented with the last 3 years.
Right.
So very much clearly, because obviously, there is no cutoff point as such between those two eras. It doesn't happen overnight. We are already feeling the fire coming, or shall I say the water of life coming our way, with the information, with the awakening. But I would even go as far as, you see, even when you spend some time on the social media, and of course now the TikTok seems to be the new place. There's plenty of people, it's the kind of new generation, which it's not only about the awakening to knowing what sort of cage we're living in, but also I think the change in paradigm in terms of the values, what's important. Myself, when I used to be in the corporate world, I was really excuse me, I was really still programmed into the, climb the ladder, chase the status. If you want to mean something, if you want to have any worth, you have to have a good position in a corporation. But those kids, the ones born in the 90s and in the kind of 2000, they have totally different values. They don't care. They don't want to support that world anymore. They sort of, their interests, their values, they flip. They want to travel. They want to make money, but they want to live. So I think it's already a very nice breath of fresh air of that era, where we are bringing in much more human and humanity, rather than that kind of corporate, very much matrix type of world.
Yeah, I see that. And I also see how the Matrix is programming these same young people to be in the woke culture, which is very destructive for society and cultures in general. And that's a sad thing when you see that kind of programming, come into young people. But you're right, there are many young people who are much more, well, I wouldn't say open-minded necessarily, but they are more freedom conscious than previous generations. Because, my generation was programmed to just, go to school, get your degree, go out, like you said, go out, work for a corporation, do your job, work hard, and good luck trying to retire if you live long enough. Yeah. So yeah, it's a different thing. And it's exciting to me when I do see young people that are fully aware of what's happening, and they're standing up, for us, for all of us, and that is an exciting thing. And of course, they are our future here. Another subject that I'm real fascinated with is the different resets that we've had in civilization over the years, such as, we've all heard of the Great Flood with Noah and all that. And so many people talk about that there have been many sort of resets where the controllers kind of push the button and one way or another, whether it's by earthquakes and fires or by flooding or whatever, humanity in all the civilization that surrounds it seems to be reset. Now, do you have any ideas on any upcoming reset? Because there's a lot of talk about that too, but when we talk about cycles and things like that. Any thoughts on that?
Well, of course, if we look at the resets from the past, that there's a lot of theories, some of them going into those resets happening less frequently, more frequently, perhaps some kind of cosmic intervention, or perhaps some kind of disease. Of course, they seem to be pre-planned, and the way I see it, to be absolutely honest, the way I see it is that this time round is a game changer. Because I see the previous resets to be sort of steered by the fact that when the consciousness gets to a point where people start putting puzzles together, that the reset button gets pushed. So, okay, let's start from scratch because they kind of getting out of hand. But this time round, I think they are in real trouble because it's not only us starting to understand the game, it's literally us getting an external support, if you like, for the first time in really massive amounts of time. So I wouldn't be so much focused on those, because to me those resets, they are coming from them. You know, there's somebody, the archons,
the controllers,
controllers, they standing behind it. So I think that this time around they happen to be in a great trouble, and I would be really focused on what is it that we can do this time around. And I know that it might sound a little bit romantic for some people, but you know, I know the kind of cycles that we're dealing with, and they happen to not have been the case in the past. So definitely the energy is different this time around. And what they are doing, you see, the playing with the DNA. This is not the first time round. This is not the first time round. They've done that before. They did not create us. They were playing with our DNA, dumbing us down from 12 strands to here we are on 2. So this is not the first time they've done it. But this time round is the time when they are literally trying to introduce the AI. Why? Because they're losing grip, they're losing control on us. Because dumbing down our DNA in the past was just switching off some of the strands. So here we are still under control. But this time round, there is not much to switch off. And if they don't introduce the AI sort of aspect into it, and we utilize what I talked about in those 3 cycles and the incoming energy, the game is over. I'm talking literally the construct above us dissolving. And what is the construct above us? And this is also where the astrology comes in. You see, what I think we have been missing, looking at the ancient texts, looking at astrology, especially in the context of the firmament and a lot of the past civilizations, pretty much every single civilization, whether that be the Norse, the Mayas, the Navajo, and wherever you're going to look into any geography, everyone is picturing this kind of firmament, right? So we've assumed we must be on a perhaps flat earth and the firmament above us, and some kind of closed-in environment. But I think what might be a alternative explanation is that what they really been trying to tell us is that literally there is a control mechanism put up in the sky which captured the planets. There is very advanced technology used. So it creates a network, literally a network above us, which somehow, it's very advanced technology, somehow captures the planets. There is a mind control, so we are receiving some kind of streaming from that technology through the planets, hence astrology works. Hence, we have the question, do we have free will, right? And there is a lot of programming that comes in. And literally, it might be even as simple as we are being closed into some kind of biocapsule, some kind of environment like that. So this is why our view of where are we, what's going on, is so distorted. Because probably when we look up in the sky, it's just a projection. And we don't really have that wider context. So this is what I was able to establish based on the ancient texts, whether that be the Babylonian, whether that be the Bible, Book of Enoch, the Gnostic text as well. A lot of beautiful wisdom there. The Vedas, every single geography is really pointing to the same. We had some kind of race that came in here, called them Anunnaki, called them the Archons. It depends, again, where you are reading about it.
Demiurge or whatever.
The Demiurge, the Yakve, the Enki, however you want to call them. It's really, we're talking about all the time the same race, the same entities coming in, overtaking, introducing some kind of mechanism to control humans. And by the way, the Hermetic texts, amazing source of wisdom about it. And they go into details of how the whole thing has been created and put in place, including the moon, by the way, which is not natural. The moon is part of the matrix mechanism. So somebody comes in here, and we know who that is. The Enki, the Anunnaki, the Yahweh, the any geography, different names. They are putting a mechanism in place, and the humans get controlled. So they're cutting us off from the rest of the cosmos, and they are cutting us off also from having that kind of natural connection with the earth. So you see, right now, the reason why it is so scary with those 3 cycles converging is that if we are able to utilize what's coming our way, to be able to reactivate, to receive this energy, those calls, which will be activating our DNA back, then it's game over. Because we will literally change the vibration of this planet to a point where they are unable to function here. Because they had to, by technology, they had to change the conditions of this planet in order to even stay here. Whether that's a planet or a wider, wherever we are, it's sort of in this context irrelevant. But I'm just trying to explain the slightly different concept here. So I see very, very clearly in every single ancient text very strong indications that something of that sort happened here.
Makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you. I feel like we are at a point where something miraculous and amazing can happen if we are able to wake up, if we are able to become as conscious as possible. And, we're close to that. And it's an interesting thing. It's really a test for humanity. A lot of people refer to this realm that we're in, this matrix that we're in, as sort of a school. It's a place of experience and learning. And even though a lot of us feel like you do, that we've sort of been caged into this, we've sort of become prisoners in this matrix system. But it's time to bust out, and it's time to grow beyond the constraints of the matrix. And a lot of people talk about that outside of the matrix is where we really are from and where we really are headed if we're able to break the chains in this current matrix situation. And I'm hoping that that's where it's going to go.
I mean, absolutely. You see, when the Anunnaki, however we want to call them, when they came here, there was freedom here. We were not created by them, or humans were not created by them. So life was already here, and freedom was here. So for them to, mind you, right? I mean, the ancient texts say that they came to mine for gold. Well, I question that. If I would say that this is a mistake in translation, because why would such an advanced civilization come here and mine for gold? They need humans to mine for gold, so they have all this advanced technology to fly wherever they came from or go through some portals, and then here they come. Oh dear, we don't have tools to mine for gold. I don't think so. I think that what happened is there is a mistake in translation. Gold, obviously we are translating from ancient languages. And for example, in Latin, if you look at the periodic table, the gold, the symbol for gold in the periodic table is Au, and it comes from aurum, aurum. That's not far from aura, right? The energy field. So what are they coming to mine for? Is it gold, or is the gold our energy? Are they coming to feed off the energy of humans? This is the gold. So not real gold, not physical gold, but aurum, aura. So if that's the case, then clearly that explains this whole context of us being in prison here, of them building the prison, and the Hermetic texts, just as an example, because that's not the only source of information on this, but it's very, very clear that they built a mechanism of reincarnation onto the earth. So when you die, and if you don't know your ways around, you will be lured back onto the reincarnation machine, and you will come back, sort of recycling loop back onto the earth. How? Well, the trick is called in the West, the sin, and in the East, it's called karma. So you're being lured, you're being sold a story that you need to go back and, pay back for your sins, or you have some karma, you need to sort of pay it back, you need to even it out, so you need to keep incarnating. So there is a loop that you cannot get out of here on Earth. And the moon is part of the machine. However, the truth is that there is a way out of here, and that wisdom exists. It's a little bit more alchemical and esoteric, but that wisdom has been smuggled in a way. We're not the first civilization that is going through some serious censorship. So that wisdom has been smuggled in ancient texts. It's we have it. We were able to decode it. However, unfortunately, of course, it's not sort of common knowledge. But Mary Magdalene says, if you do not resurrect in life after death, forget it. It's no chance. Meaning, you will be lured back onto the reincarnation machine. So you will not be able to leave this construct and get outside of this matrix.
Yeah, I think probably Atlantis was at a similar point that, with their technology and their things that they were doing to where we are right now. But like you said, they probably didn't have the correct alignments, the correct energy flow that we're experiencing now to liberate themselves. And of course, the old reset button got pushed, and see you later. Start over humanity one more time. And
yeah, they seem to have been definitely toying with similar stuff. But of course, the agenda that we're talking about here with the transhumanism and with obviously the gender agenda, this is not a human agenda. This is not us, right? I mean, none of us suddenly woke up and started questioning those kind of things. This is being pushed upon us. But this is what I'm saying. This is plan of the gods. This is plan of the archons. This is not our plan. So they need us to literally fulfill their plans, to play along. So it's literally as simple as, please stop giving in to what they are trying to so forcefully push upon us via media, via obviously, everything that's playing out on TV. That's their plan. That's not our plan. So even if I was to sit and tell you by astrology, what can we expect? That's still their plan. That's their plan. We do not have to manifest their plan when we have totally different energies available here.
Yeah, and I think the challenge for a lot of us right now is, how do we get this information to people? Because those of us who are very curious and have always been very curious, we're already there. We've already been learning as much as we can possibly learn, learning more every day. But there are those out there who are still wanting to stay in the status quo and keep things the way they are as much as possible, even though they may be scared by all the machinations of the controllers. They still don't have that ability to sort of grasp the situation. So I think that's the biggest challenge for us, is that we're going to need to see some pretty amazing events to sort of shock people into questioning, what reality is, because that's really what it boils down to. Because your sense of reality is either one that's been programmed into you or one that you've discovered for yourself.
Mm. I totally agree. However, I would perhaps it's not a very popular opinion, but I would also suggest that what if the success of this undertaking from our side is not in numbers? What if we cannot wake up other people? Because probably, I'm not sure how it was in your case. Nobody woke me up. I did not wake up because somebody was shoving truths down my throat. I woke
That's
up.
true.
I don't even know how. Just one day suddenly nothing made sense, or everything made sense suddenly. All the dots got connected, and I started questioning everything. But that just happened. So I really, really believe that people that are meant to wake up, they will wake up, and some just will not. However, I think that it is a way of also us being programmed to believe that in order for us to change it, all of us need to wake up, and then the game will change. But what if that's not going to happen? And what if that doesn't have to happen? What if what I'm saying is literally us being able to receive, and this is, like I'm saying, this is the role of women, because women give birth. Women give birth not just to children, women give birth to a lot of other things that they were made to forget. But what if it's about receiving this energy and giving birth to something new here, which does not have to involve every single person on the planet, but perhaps only a group of people who are aware, to change the game?
That's great. I love hearing that. And women are portals, and
Exactly.
they are an
Exactly
amazing
right.
portals. And people don't think of it that way, but it's absolutely true, because there are no humans come into this world except through a woman, a portal.
Exactly. So exactly right on that thought. If a woman is able to bring a spirit, a soul from another dimension and materialize it into this reality, what else a woman is able to do? That is what has been hidden from humanity. That is exactly what's been hidden, but that knowledge, it sits in mythology, it sits in the ancient texts. It's really, really, it's a little bit, hidden and tucked away, but it's all there. And it's really not that difficult to unpack it.
That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about what you do when you work with people.
So I do two things. I do astrology readings. However, the purpose of those astrology readings, astrology, numerology, the whole code of the matrix code, if you like, the reason for that is because I see astrology as literally the code of the matrix. So like I've explained, we are living in under some kind of construct. It's a physical technology construct above us, including the planets, and the energies of the planets are being utilized. They are obviously being changed in some way. They're being affected by this technology used by the archons, and the energy is being affected in such a way as to stream certain frequencies onto us. Probably the third eye receives that. That's why we have the pineal gland, the pine, showing up in a lot of the ancient artwork. And so this is kind of to fuel the game. However, the whole idea is not to play that game. So my approach to astrology is a little bit different. So when I speak with people, I literally tell them in what way matrix try to capture them, in what way Matrix try to limit them, what kind of traumas they would have underwent, perhaps as children or throughout life, what kind of patterns they would be repeating throughout life, and all that, what we call lessons. I'm sorry, but this is another Matrix lie. We don't have to do lessons. If we are such advanced beings, if we come from the source, what lessons do we need? We don't need lessons. So you see, just like karma, all those concepts are being fed to us to believe that there is a sense to this constant recycling, to being reborn here onto this matrix reality. So what I do is I help people understand what kind of code they have received and basically try to disconnect from that. What happens to be also included in our reading in the natal chart is certain significators which are coming not from the matrix but from the soul, and the ones from the soul are to do with our purpose, with that kind of calling, the fire in the soul. So we also look into that. Literally, that has to do with your purpose. Why did you come here? And most of the people that come to my readings, they happen to be those kind of souls, more advanced souls, that the ones that are awakened by now, and the ones that have a little bit bigger mission than probably the people that are, let's say, asleep, right? So they, most of the time, are actually souls that came from the outside. They're not coming from the reincarnation cycle, but they're coming from the outside to sort of help in the current time. And you can see that in the chart. You can see that there are those ancient techniques, especially the Babylonian astrology, which I call, this is the astrology of the elites. This is the astrology, this is specifically the astrology of the controllers. They are going by this astrology. So what we can find out is literally who you are, what are you coming to do, what kind of tasks do you have here, what kind of mission, what are the limitations, how to avoid them, how to not get pulled into the matrix game. So it is an astrology reading, but a little bit from a different angle, not looking at astrology as some kind of empowering tool, because it's not empowering. Nothing that determines you is empowering. It is kind of flipping it and helping you, play the game by not engaging in the game. And the second part is the alchemy. So I help women remember, and I also share what I have established, what I know from the ancient texts, as well as my line, because I actually happen to come from Eastern Europe. So we have a bit of a line of wisdom that's kind of spoken word, oral tradition, and it kind of fits together. So this is why I was also able to decipher some of the mythology, which is just the myths are all, again, patriarchy has put the stamp on them, and they just not exactly interpreted the way they were intended.
Yeah.
And I work with women, helping women to bring back that understanding of who they are, much more than what they ever probably imagined.
All right. So where can people find you online if they would like to communicate with you and even possibly have a reading with you or work with you?
They can find me at selfmasteryquest.com. This is my website. They can also find me on Facebook at selfmasteryquest.com. Just reach out if you feel guided, or just have a look at some of my other content. I also I'm starting to write articles where I would like to tackle a little some of those things that we cover in shows. I just would like to explain a little bit more on that, a little bit more technically. So if anyone is interested, I definitely would love to hear from you, or just say hi on Facebook.
Wonderful. And I want to thank you so much, Ola, for spending your time with us today. And I'm sure we could go on for hours, but people have limited time and attention span. So we'll leave it here today, and hopefully we'll get you back on in a couple months, as long as this channel is still viable. Hopefully, we're getting a little bit of pushback on some things. We won't go into that, but hopefully we'll move forward in a very positive way. So I'd like to thank you for being with us today. And I'd like to also thank all of you out there for joining us once again. And we will see you next time inside the Matrix.
Thank you so much, and good night, everybody.